Sure. 'Cause
Sorry,
I'm
my
recording
agent
now.
just texts me, and you know when your agent texts and you're like,
Oh,
fuck.
you always answer it.
You always, I'm like
Always.
she texted me like 3 minutes ago, and I'm like, sorry.
I'm missing out on something.
No, are you free for a possible VO on Monday? Yes. It's always yes.
I had a good chat with my agent yesterday because I'm on shortlists all over the place, and I'm not booking. I'm not even getting to audition stage on a lot of the big national stuff at the moment, right? Like I'm on the list of people that they're considering, but I'm not making it to the next part. And so I've got to put some new stuff on my demo because
That's
right
exciting.
now in Australia, anyway, they want deep and husky down here.
That's you.
I know,
But
it's
you
me.
can totally do that.
Yeah.
Actually, so interesting. I was working with a girl to help prep for her demo, so we prepped different scripts, and she went in and she recorded it today. And she struggled to do like high bright retail up in here. Not that she needs it, but it's good to show range when you're doing your first, getting into an agent. And well, I thought so anyway. And she went into the booth and did it, and the guy was like, "Oh, that's not in your vocal range. You shouldn't do it." But she did it anyway, and so they got like a higher one and then a lower one, and it was just really interesting. I think she didn't feel comfortable doing high retail, so she probably shouldn't have. But I said to her, I was like, don't even worry about it because that's not the trend.
It's not.
Whether you like, it was good to show that you could do it. There's nothing, nothing for your first demo out, getting into agencies, have range, have some fucking range.
Well, this is the thing. Ned said to me, she said, I've got 4 people on my books that can do everything, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
Right? I tell people all the time, like, there's not very many like actual proper generalists around who can do like all of the things. And she's like, you can. But the trouble is right now people are looking for specificity, and your demo is really general. And so people are listening to your demo and they're not hearing the exact thing that they want. And so they're just going, well, what's on her demo is what she can do. And there's no like understanding. And this is just Eastern States stuff. People in Perth know what I can do. And it's like I never have to worry about Perth stuff. Everyone in Perth knows you, right, and knows what you're capable of. But all of the national campaigns are coming out of the Eastern States at the moment, and none of them know who you are. None of them know what you're capable of. And so right now your demo shows that you've just got this kind of generalist, generic almost kind of approach to things. That's how the demo's landing at the moment. I'm generic.
So interesting. What I heard the other day is that people in Europe, Americans in Europe, are not succeeding with their demos because Europeans, i.e. the Brits, do not want sparkly demos.
No.
They're done.
Is that why I'm not booking commercials right now? Because that is my specialty. I do the sparkly. I can do it really well. I do it really easily.
But it's not just
overproduced demos is what they mean.
Really well-produced demos.
It's not sparkly voice. It's sparkly overproduced. They don't want it.
They don't want to hear the production. No. And that's the danger of getting a really high-end, especially American demo, right? Yeah. Because they're almost, I feel like with a lot of American demos, it's actually a demo for the producer.
Yeah, totally.
Ooh.
Totally.
It's like a showcase for the producer. The producer's like, oh, check out all my bells and whistles. Look what I can do, right? Look at this like fancy shit that I can make that we can put your voice inside of, right?
Look how good I am. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't do anything for the voice, not really. And this like whole, and I think it's come from this space. It's good that we're recording this. I think this has come from a space that is about, oh God, fuck, it went. Hang on. So that really, really high level of production is, oh fuck, I've forgotten it. It's gone. It'll come back and I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Oh, she's thought of it. What is it?
So I think it comes from the culture of making people pay a lot for demos. So the only way that demo producers can justify charging people that much is by writing custom material for those people, creating custom jingles, creating custom music, doing all the like fucking fancy shit, right? And they go, well, you need to come and get a demo done this way, and it'll be customized just for you, and it'll be scripts that are just for you. But that takes all of the attention off the actual voice and puts all of the attention on the production side of things.
That's so interesting. I wrote a commercial voiceover for somebody the other day so that they could use it in their demo.
Yeah, it's easy. It's not even hard.
No,
right?
Not saying that commercial writers are not talented, but all it was is
not
that I
at
went
all.
onto the Stroke website because they wanted something PSA-ish, and I went, think stroke, think fast, and then I did like the things, and that if you think you're having a stroke, call 111, and that was it.
Yes,
and it was an awesome PSA. That was it. Just stole the shit from the website.
And you know, there is definitely skill involved and it saves people time and all that kind of stuff, right? But it takes the attention off the voice and it puts the attention on the words that have been written and the way that those words are framed and all of that has value, right? But I think it pushes demo production in a really particular direction that isn't voice focused.
That's why it's super important to pick if you're going to go that route and you're going to get your demo produced by someone, you need to make sure listen to a lot of their previous work. You know what I mean? Listen to a lot of it. And if it's not good, if it's not in alignment with the goals that you have, then, on to the next, because there's a lot of places you could go now.
Totally.
Because it is a business and you have a lot of options.
And I think you have to be careful about like what you just said there about your goals. Like, are your goals being driven by what people are telling you your goals should be?
They shouldn't be.
But that's what happens when people are in
Especially
a space and you're new, right? You are led by the professionals in the environment, so there's just lots there to consider and think about. Anyway, that's a whole episode probably.
Well, now that we've gotten good and chit-chatted out, maybe we should actually start our episode for the day, which is really, really fun and exciting. But before we get into it, I think we should take a little time just in case you don't remember who we are. I know that we're super memorable people, but you might have forgotten. So in case that's true, my name is Ashton Haugen. This is the Good Talkers podcast, and I am joined by Tessa Livingston. Shout it out, Tess.
Hello.
I am also joined by Deanna Cooney.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
And good night. Yeah. And of course, we are always joined by our wonderful producer, Jordan, who's looking super schnazzy today. I like the outfit.
What's up, guys? Yeah, there's a story coming for the shirt.
Love the shirt. Love the shirt. Is that
Story about the shirt?
Is that a shirt and tie that I can see?
Yeah.
Is it
You want
embroidered?
to know the story now? Should I just tell it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's international, but in New Zealand it's anti-bullying day, and we're supposed to wear pink, and you guys will drop the ball. I reckon it's just
Did not
Tessa
know.
because it's New Zealand.
I don't
Maybe it's
live
New
there.
Zealand only.
Yeah,
I don't actually know.
Yeah, having
Anyway,
black on's
it doesn't
probably not a
matter,
good thing.
guys. I forgive each and every one of you. I only have
Don't
this.
be a bully, Jordan.
This looks like it doesn't have any pink on it, but on the sleeve right here, there's some pink. Okay, it's the
Cool.
only pink thing I had in the wardrobe. And the shirt's got a good story. So this T-shirt's a replica of a suit a guy wore who I was a big fan of. He was a sports analyst in the NBA, and he always wore outrageous suits to every sporting event when he was doing interviews with players. There's a whole lot of famous clips with him just getting so much grief about the clothes and the outfits that he used to wear.
Wow.
Anyway, he got leukemia and kept on working for like years and years, and he would just turn up. He'd be there on the court. He was so driven at his job, and he was always there, even though he was super sick. Like, he'd get treatment on one side of America and go to a game the same night on the other side, and then like do his job and then go back and get more treatment. Like, he's just crazy dude. His name was Craig Sager. And this was the memorial shirt that they did to raise money for leukemia. So I bought it, and I love it. I have one on my wall as well. So it's
really
too.
cool.
I love this shirt. It's so good. It's such a fun time. So he's a crazy
so
fun dude. So it was very symbolic of him. So, and
Well,
it's got pink on it.
It's a
So
crazy
no
fun
bullying.
outfit.
And
Yeah.
no bullying.
Wild suits. He was crazy with his wild suits. Anyway, that's enough of that. You guys can carry on. Go ahead, Ashton.
I am just like so touched by that story. I'm like speechless. That was. I thought there was gonna be like some funny story. You're like, ha 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 ha, ha, and then you're like, tell this like really amazing, touching story. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
change the mood.
Well.
I try to keep it light.
No, that was awesome. But I don't know how to transition out of that. But we're gonna anyway. So today, what we're doing is we are talking about auditioning, rejection, and imposter syndrome. And this is a really fun episode for us because this topic was actually sent in by a listener.
Yay!
And the listener is Brandon. Is that correct?
That
Yeah.
is correct.
Brandon sent in this topic to us, and I think it's super relevant to each and every one of us. I think it's probably relevant to everyone who's in, a creative field, or even not. Like at
not
some point in
creative
your
as
life.
well, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just part of the human condition, I reckon.
Yeah, most likely. But so we're going to start with imposter syndrome. I deal frequently with imposter syndrome. It makes getting back in the booth a little bit difficult sometimes. It can, all the second guessing yourself, especially when you're alone so much in the booth by yourself and all you have is yourself to bounce stuff off of. It can get really intimidating. But let's define what imposter syndrome is first so that we all are on the same page and we all know we're talking about the same thing. So what is imposter syndrome to you guys out there?
Well, I presume you mean us by out there, not like...
Well, we could always we could see what Brandon sort of said about his imposter syndrome, but I in his email when he was asking to do for us to talk about this, he said, I deal frequently with imposter syndrome and it makes getting back into the booth difficult, just what you said, Ashton.
Yeah.
I'm working with a VO coach and I'm getting demos ready, but when I read about others' progress, sometimes I feel like I'm out of my element. And I think that nails it on the head real well.
Yeah, I think anytime we feel like we shouldn't be in a space, anytime we don't feel we're deserving of anything, a thing, it could be an outcome, it could be like an experience. Anytime we feel like we're in a space and we don't deserve to be there, we're dealing with imposter syndrome. Right? Because imposter syndrome is that little voice inside of us that says, you're not supposed to be here. You're not good enough to be here. This is not the space for you, right? Everybody here is better than you and you're going to look like a fucking idiot, right? If you stay in this space. They're going to catch you. You're a fraud, right? They're going to see that you don't belong here. Because the thing about like imposter syndrome is it can just be like straight up in your face and like you're just like standing there freaking out because like everybody else around you is better, and I say that in quotation marks, everyone is better than you or bigger or more important or whatever, right? But it also shows up when you're stepping into a leadership space, right? And when you're stepping into a leadership space, how it shows up is I'm a fraud and everyone's going to work it out pretty soon and they're going to stop paying attention to me because I'm making this shit up, right? I'm not supposed to be here. Right? And everyone's going to see, right? That's a big part of imposter syndrome as well. And I think the thing about imposter syndrome is it shows up no matter where you're at, whatever level you are currently operating at, you're going to probably feel some imposter syndrome if you're not like a full tilt narcissist or something,
Oh, the joy to be a full tilt narcissist.
So I actually particularly, it's interesting that you say like when you're stepping into a leadership role, because I recently experienced that. I was last September, September of 2022. I got approached by someone who I had recorded with before and done some work with before. I got approached by them to see if I taught acting and if I would be interested in teaching acting at a local art college. And I remember like being so excited about like being asked to apply for this job, but at the same time being freaked out that I wouldn't be able to do it. And so I remember I think I messaged Tessa like right after I got the email and I was like, Tessa, I need to ask you, is this something I can do?
I feel like you and I get these messages back and forth quite a bit.
And she was like, yeah, totally, absolutely, you can do this. Go for it. That's an awesome opportunity. You'd be excellent at it. And so I did. I mean, that was really all the push I needed. Just those couple words from a friend letting me know, yeah, you don't need this. You don't need to be feeling like you can't do this because you absolutely can do this. And now that I am doing it, like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like I am really freaking good at this and I love it. And it is so rewarding and fulfilling. And we actually just ended my second semester of teaching there and like just getting the feedback from some of my students about all they learned from me and like how excellent of a teacher they think I am, and thank you cards and gifts and stuff from them. It's just like so touching to me. I can't imagine my life without that job. I can't imagine. I'm so glad I didn't let that imposter syndrome, those bad thoughts take over and hold me back from something that has been so good for me and so good for other people, like in my world. So thank you, Tessa. I'm very grateful to you.
You are so welcome, and you are so good at it. I did an audition the other day for a gaming thing, and I did a take of it, and I sent it to Ashton. She went, "It's okay." We need to add some stuff to it. And so we had a 10-minute phone call, and the take I sent in, I was so happy with, because you just gave me some really simple, like, think about this, think about this, think about this. And it was accessible. I've been in acting classes before where you're like, what the fuck are these people talking about? Whereas what you told me was like, da-da, da-da, da-da. And I was like, oh, I get that. Cool. So you are very good at it, Ashton. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and look, yes, of course you are, right? And what I want to bring up here is the times when we're not actually good at the thing, right?
Yes.
Because imposter
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the times we're not good at things.
right? Because being good at something and feeling imposter syndrome, they're separate, right? So yes, finding out that you're good at something or someone telling you that you are good at something can help you get past imposter syndrome, right? And that's really, really helpful. And you'll notice, Ashton, that the imposter syndrome disappears pretty quickly once you've discovered, oh, actually, I'm good at this and I'm comfortable and everything's working. So yay, no more imposter syndrome, right? Because you've got evidence to prove that actually you do belong there, right?
Right.
That's not the same thing as overcoming imposter syndrome. That is like proving to yourself that you can do it. That's having imposter syndrome, taking action, even with imposter syndrome in place. And that's really valid, right? You definitely want to do that. Like if you let imposter syndrome stop you, then it stopped you. You never actually get to build any evidence around whether you're any good at something or not, right? But sometimes we're stepping into things, oftentimes when we're learning, we're stepping into a space where we actually are pretty shit at the thing. Right?
And that's
we
fine.
are.
Or we're just a beginner.
We're a beginner, right? We're actually at the first rung. So so what do we do when imposter syndrome shows up in that kind of environment, right? Because what we have to do is step into the space feeling like we don't belong, and then we get some evidence to show us that we don't belong, right? Because we're shit at the thing, right? Because we always are when we start, right? Like you're always shit at the thing, right? So then what happens? What do we do then? Because the imposter syndrome goes, see, fucking told you so, you're shit. Right. And that's where imposter syndrome starts getting really challenging to manage your way through, because yes, you can go externally and get support from people like, this is so hard. Help me feel better about this. And they can't tell you, no, you're really good at it. You'll be fine, because you're not, right? You're pretty shit at it at the moment. But therein lies the challenge of accepting that the imposter syndrome exists and taking action, even in the face of imposter syndrome, sometimes over and over and over again. And what that does is build resilience. That doesn't necessarily build the capacity for us to go, oh, I'm really good at this, so I'm fine now. Imposter syndrome doesn't exist for me anymore, right? Because it still does. It'll show up again some other way, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that concept of building resilience is really important in how we deal with imposter syndrome. Right? Accepting that it's there and going, okay, cool. I can feel like shit. I can feel like a fraud. I can feel like the person in the space that's the least qualified or whatever. And I'm going to do this thing anyway. I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm going to feel the things and I'm going to take action.
I love that. I'm going to feel the things. I'm going to feel all the things.
and take action. I think it's also, so what do you think the difference is between recognizing that you're not good at something and then, or how do you know when it's like just imposter syndrome saying, you know, you can't do this thing even though you might be good at it? And how do you know it's imposter syndrome saying, oh, you can't do this thing and you're not good at it? Like, how do you decipher between those two things?
Yeah, well, for me, it tends to be that if it's purely the pure imposter syndrome exists whether you're good at something or not, whether you're learning or you're well established from a skill set perspective, right? Imposter syndrome is there. And for me, the voice of imposter syndrome is usually pretty young and scared.
Ooh.
Mm.
Interesting.
Right? It's often a younger version of me.
Huh.
It's often a version of me that's scared and worried and like, and, fear of being caught out. Unless as an adult, you tell lots of lies and you put yourself in situations where you are going to get caught out, it isn't necessarily something that shows up in our adult life all of the time. But when we're younger, we have a lot of like, oh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm worried that people are going to tease me. And, like that whole concept of today being like, don't bully people day, like imposter syndrome sometimes comes from experiences of being bullied when you're younger, right?
So and then you bully yourself.
Yeah, and then you bully yourself. Exactly, right? So for me, that the voice of imposter syndrome is often, it feels young. It feels like immature. It feels underdeveloped as from a strength and resilience perspective, right? Because that imposter syndrome, that's not coming from a place of resilience. It's not coming from a place of like, I trust myself. It's actually coming from a place of I don't trust myself. So if the feeling is I don't trust myself, then that's really different to a feeling of, oh, I don't know how to do this yet, and I'm in a learning kind of mindset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Totally.
So on that note, when we're auditioning and when we inevitably get the rejection that is, like I said, inevitable because of, the career we've chosen to be in, how do you not let that rejection feed your imposter syndrome and you deal with it? What's a healthier way to deal with that rejection instead of letting it feed your imposter side?
Well, you have to be rational about it. You have to be logical about it. Like, apply your critical thinking to that thing. Like, imposter syndrome comes from our limbic system. Our imposter syndrome doesn't live in executive function. Imposter syndrome doesn't live in a space where we get to like think critically and rationally and analyze things and make decisions. It comes from feelings, right? Comes from like a feelings space, right?
No, so I'm a ghost feeling.
Yeah, right? So ghosty feelings.
Ooh.
If you stay in that feeling space, right, imposter syndrome will get a hold of you, right? If you allow those emotional things to drive your thinking and your decision making, then that's imposter syndrome driving your decision making process. So for me, what I always do is come at it rationally, okay? And I have to frame auditions as 99 out of 100 of these are not going to go anywhere for me. That's the reality, right? Or 9 out of 10, or like whatever the number is that you feel is an accurate representation of what your booking rate is, right? That's what you want to lean into. And you want to like look at it from the perspective of like, how does this actually go, right? Like I've gone to so many auditions in my life, right? And have they all turned into jobs? Fuck no. Most of them haven't. 99 out of 100 haven't. Right? So it actually makes sense that I'm going to get a no across the board. Most of the answers are going to be no's, right? And if we can build a rational framework around what it means to get a no, what it means to not book a job, right? And not make it a personal thing about us, a statement of who we are as a person and our value and what we bring to the environment, right? And we just look at it from this are the facts, this is the reality of this environment, then we can start to separate the two things. You'll still have all the feelings about it because being rational doesn't stop the feelings, but if we let those two things get tangled up, right? If we apply the feelings to the thinking around the rational stuff, like we go, well, like, yeah, sure, this is the way it goes. And also it's because I'm shit, right? Then we're conflating the two things. Right? Like this is the way it goes. And here's my value. They're separate things to consider. You got to try and think about them separately.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the times I tell myself when I don't get the job that most of the time, it probably had nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? I could have given the best read in the world and it wasn't the specific one they might have been looking for, or the times conflicted, or whoever was listening to it had a fight with their, significant other right before they listened to my audition, and that put a bad taste in their mouth. There are probably a million things outside of my control that had to do with whether or not that audition was successful. And so I do try to tell myself, at the same time, you still have to get better and better and better. But most of the time, if I don't get an audition or I don't get the job, a lot of the times it probably has nothing to do with me. Because the right jobs are going to hire me. The ones that I am right for are going to hire me. And it's a lot of times that's completely out of my control, and I just have to let it go.
Yeah, you do. And I like the fact that you also said, and I've got to get better, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the risks of going, well, it's out of my control, is that you're not taking responsibility for your own part in that. And that's a risk, right? I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Ashton, right? But
Sure.
As someone who's starting to, if someone's listening to this and they're starting to build this understanding of what does it mean to separate out the rational stuff from the thinking, the emotional stuff, and what does it mean to understand that actually there's a bunch of other factors contributing to the outcome, right? You got to be careful not to lean too hard on that, because what it can do is put you in a space where you're not taking any responsibility for your outcomes at all, right? And that's really, really dangerous. You definitely want to build the capacity, and this is part of being resilient, right? You want to build the capacity to critically analyze your own performances, and that helps enormously with imposter syndrome as well, because imposter syndrome isn't rational. Right? Imposter syndrome isn't logical, it's feelings based. It's just about an emotional thing that happened to you at some point in your life where, like, you know, and it happens to all of us. We all have a requirement to protect ourselves. And that's what imposter syndrome's doing. It's just like, oh, last time this happened, it felt bad. Let's not even do that anymore because it might feel yucky, right? But we still need to be able to critically analyze our stuff and what we did. And yes, maybe the read maybe you didn't get booked because the person had a bad day and they didn't even listen to your audition or whatever. But we also want to build the capacity to look at what we did and go, what can I do to make this even better, right? If yes, all of those things fell into place and the people listening to me are in the right frame of mind and blah and blah and blah and blah, would this still have gotten across the line, right? Would this even have been in the ballpark? Being able to analyze yourself like that is different to, am I good enough? Not the same thing.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. Am I good enough is not the same as, was my performance good enough?
Yeah, because there's two separate things. My value as a human being does not come from whether or not I get the job.
Yes.
It doesn't. My value as a human being is just because I am a human being. End of sentence. And that's my value. I'm valuable because I am a human being, period. So, I totally agree with you, Deanna. And I think part of being self-analytical is part of that me getting better process. Is I'm getting better at being self-analytical, and I'm getting better at sending in better auditions. Every single time I audition, I am getting better. I hope I am getting better. That's imposter syndrome right there. See, it just like squeaked its way on me.
Just
It just
snuck
come out of my mouth.
slid into your DMs.
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan's got his hand up. Jordan's got his hand
I got
up.
my hand up. So this is a good opportunity right there to just acknowledge what the actual definition of imposter syndrome is, because I think you guys are talking through it really well. And then Ashton kind of just did this immediately. So the definition is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. And that was like a really good opportunity to bring that in. So, and I just love that definition. I love the way it's written.
Yeah.
I was like, this is my 2 cents. I'll just give the actual definition from the dictionary.
Oh, I love that so
But
much
yeah,
too.
really good
interesting,
definition.
Yeah, that idea that we don't attribute the success to ourselves, that's kind of like, I think that's, oh God, I don't have the right words for it because that's how I feel imposter syndrome these days, right? I don't feel imposter syndrome around voiceover, a little bit around performance, but only in spaces where it's new to me, right? So I'm feeling lots of it around building character work at the moment. I'm like, oh God, I get into a workshop and I'm like, oh, everyone else is so much better than me. Fuck, you know? And that happens. Like, do I even deserve to be here? And I kind of override that. But where I'm feeling a lot of it now is some of the successes that I'm having in my life at the moment, I'm not attributing to me. I'm going, oh, that happened because blah, right? And I won't be able to repeat that because actually all of the things that led to that, like I just happened to be along for the ride, right? And that is imposter syndrome. because I fucking was there. I did do things, and I helped generate it by all of the things I did in the lead up to that thing. You know, just because someone else invited me to be part of a thing, right, doesn't mean that I am not a major part of the success of that thing. You know, so it's really interesting to feel it from that space. That idea that like, oh yeah, that was awesome and it was really successful, but it didn't really have anything to do with me. Hello, imposter syndrome.
I think it comes out in, I was lucky on this one. So
Yes!
no, fuck that. I created my own luck. Don't give me any luck. I'm going to make my own, you know, like, no, you weren't lucky. You put yourself in a position to be where you are now and give yourself some credit for that. So yeah, I was lucky. No, bullshit. I don't believe it.
I did that the other day. So I did a job for a company that I was really excited to do. I did it in an American accent. It was really cool. I was really stoked to have gotten it. But then what happened is that as it came out and people started commenting on it, a couple of things happened here. People kept saying how amazing it was, and because it was with a big brand, and my brain went, oh, but in the scale of things, it's not actually that impressive. Because it's not a big campaign. And then what happened is that as I started talking about it more, I went, oh, well, actually, Deanna helped me audition for that, so that's the only reason I got it.
So it's actually Deanna did that.
So actually
right?
Deanna did that. And then the other bit went, oh, and actually if they had hired someone else, it probably would have sounded better. Because even when I sent it through to you, Deanna, do you remember what I said to you? I was like, I like the tone of it and I'm happy with the accent, but I'm happy medium with the performance.
Yeah, right? Because Tess sent it to me. She's like, here's the thing that you helped me with. It's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. How do you feel about it? Right? That's me being Tess's like coach.
I knew you were fucking digging and I gave it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, and that
I'm going to poke on this a little bit.
it's exactly what happened. And now that we're talking about this, I'm realizing what I've done. Because somebody else posted it, because I'm doing like a teacher's course at the moment, and someone posted about it for me, which was awesome. And then and underneath it, she posted that video being like, look, she's actually legit. Look at how good she is. And my brain went, oh, but it's not that and Deanna and insane.
I love it. It's like this conversation's so valuable, right? Because everyone understands imposter syndrome from the really kind of like ground level, like obvious kind of parts of it, right? But these intricacies, the way that our brain minimizes and diminishes and really subtly takes the power out of things that we've done, that we've achieved, that we've put effort into, that we generated ourselves, right, it's amazing. It's insidious, it's subtle, it's really, really little, and it's easy to not see, right? And it makes sense, especially because we're all like, you know, well, in Australia anyway, and I think New Zealand is really, really similar. I'm not sure that America has the same kind of sense of tall poppy syndrome.
I was going to say it's tall poppy. I was going to finish the sentence, yeah.
But in Australia, we drag down people that do well. Right?
Yeah,
we're like, fucking get back in the dirt, motherfucker. Like, who the fuck are you to stand up there, right? Hang out with the plebs. Get down here, right? Yeah, look at Ashton's face.
That is like the literally like exact opposite culture of.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
America's like, oh, stand up on the pedestal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
do whatever you can to get to the top of the pedestal.
Grabbing up at the pedestal,
do the opposite. We stand at the bottom of the pedestal and might try and like ankle tap the pedestal just in case somebody falls off it, and we might be able to go up a rung, but you didn't see us do it.
Oh, in Australia, we're just blatant about it. Like, get the fuck down from that pedestal. You're an asshole. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, we're not quite as blatant about it, but it's the same buzz. It's definitely the same buzz.
It's really, and I'm feeling it a lot at the moment. I'm in some of my, in my coaching space, I'm starting to offer different kinds of coaching. I'm stepping outside of just being a voiceover coach, right? I'm still doing the voiceover coaching, but I'm also stepping into a business coaching kind of environment. I'm like starting to put my hand up to work with other coaches to help them build a business that they love, and it's hard, right? I've started talking about how much money I earn because that's important to that market, you know, like it's scary. But it's fucking scary. My palms sweat just thinking about it now, right? Putting myself out there in that way, I can feel like I'm doing it to myself, right? I'm dragging myself back down in my head, and I'm having to fight that impulse, that imposter syndrome, that tall poppy kind of vibe, right? And I'm terrified that everybody else is going to do the same. to me, right?
Well, I think on that note, it's probably a good time to let's just give one tip from each of us, including you, Jordan. You're in on this too now. Let's give one tip of how we personally can overcome imposter syndrome. Let's start with Tessa. I'm going to call on you.
Sure. Well, I don't know if this counts. Says my imposter syndrome before I even know. Fuck me. Oh my God. Well, I have an Andrew. I don't know if anybody else has one, but you need to get one. They're quite helpful. I have an Andrew, and because I spend a lot of time by myself with my business and you know the things that I do, and so I check what's going on in my head with reality, and reality is outside of me, and that's by asking other people if what I'm thinking is true. Now, I don't know how look, I don't know. Basically what will happen is that I'll say, I'm thinking this about this thing, is that true or not? And he'll say yes or no. Not that his word is completely correct, and I probably need to start thinking about how to manage this stuff for myself. But in the times when I think actually, because I can do this for myself, what happens is that this is when it's really, really high stakes, when I really am struggling to pull myself out of that ruminating spiral. Yeah. So I think that's a better way to preface it. If you're in that really massive spiral, ask somebody who knows you to give you some feedback. I think that's what's been helpful for me anyway. And his name is Andrew. He's real helpful. He's lovely.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll be giving you a call. No.
Honestly, sometimes he says things and I'm like, I've had a therapist that said that to me. And he goes, I know, I'm that good. But he's a fucking builder, mate. Like, he builds,
he's building up people too.
Yeah,
building up humans.
He's building a Tessa.
That's enough praise for him. He doesn't need any more.
Okay. All right. Jordan, what about you? What's one tip you can offer us about imposter syndrome and how you get through it?
Yeah, I think I'm a doer in a sense of like, if someone says this isn't good enough, I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to make sure it's good enough in their eyes. Like, I'll acknowledge, yeah, okay, fair. Send me an example of what is good enough, or tell me an example of what's good enough, and then I'm talking about work specifically. Like, if someone sends me something and says, can you edit this? And I send it back and they're like, it doesn't cut the mustard. I'm like, that's bullshit. And now I'm annoyed. And then I'll go out of my way to make sure it does cut the mustard, meets my own expectations or exceeds them and exceeds theirs as well. So
Cool.
I think I'm more kind of like a practical, I'll solve it rather than allowing myself to feel like I'm an imposter, because that has, in like all of us, it happened when I was on the early part of the journey, and still now I'm like, man, you know, some boss sends you something and some awesome audio person in the industry sends you something and says, can you do this? You send it back and they're like, nah, mate. It's like, nah, I'm not, that doesn't fly with me. So I'll go out of my way to kind of implement things so that it's better rather than allowing myself to feel like an imposter. So I don't know if that's...
No, I get that.
Yeah.
It's like asking for parameters. So rather than going, I've fucked up, blah, 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 you're going, okay, well, you've told me this thing. Let me reassess. So like you're being really logical about it.
Yeah, that's the right
Would that
word.
be like, yeah, I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
I have things to say about that.
Yeah.
All right, Deanna.
I'm
Deanna
interested
always
to
has
see
things
what
to
Deanna
say
has
about
to say
things.
about that. Yeah.
I saw your face, so we knew it
I
was
know,
coming.
you're watching me. I'm like,
I felt like I forget what the word, like a magician just then, saying what I was saying. If I felt like a magician because I wasn't, I was talking my way around it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we talk. This thing I've been learning about being a magician, that I just felt like a magician then. But I think part of it was true, but I'm not so good on the spot sometimes. Sometimes I'm great on the spot, but that time I'm not sure if I believe what I said, which is interesting.
Oh, hello, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because I think probably everything that you said then was really valid. It came from your heart, right? And maybe saying it out loud means that now you have a different idea about it, but that doesn't mean that it isn't true and that it wasn't valid at the time that you said it, right? I think all of the going outside for support is useful, but it does put the locus of control outside of you. And it means that you are relying on somebody else to kind of prop up the deficit that imposter syndrome is playing on, right? So for me, I like to manage this shit internally, right? So for me, there's two things that I do. The first is that I get grounded and in my body, right? Because I trust my body. I trust myself and I trust my body. I don't trust my ruminating on the future self, and I don't trust my hanging out in the past reminding me of how shit I used to be. I don't trust that part of me, but I trust who I am right now, right? And if I'm present and in my body and I'm grounded, I can be in touch with that version of myself, right? The second thing I do is reframe my thoughts. And this is a tool that I learned a long time ago, and I use it all of the time, and I teach as many people as I can this process.
It's
and
life-changing.
really,
It's
it is fucking life-changing, right? Because what it does is it brings that locus of control back to you, right? And it makes you look at the thought process that is sitting behind that imposter syndrome, that's driving that imposter syndrome. And if you can manage your way through that thought process, then you can manage the imposter syndrome, right? And you're actually dealing with it at a level that changes your thoughts, which changes your emotions, which changes your behavior. And
it's actually scientific too. Like, it
100%.
scientifically changes your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It totally changes your brain. It changes the chemicals that are being dumped into your system. It changes your stress response. It like literally changes things on a cellular level for who you are and how you show up in the world, right? And Jordan, that's why while you were talking about like I do it better, right? That's really valuable, right? Like if you're not doing something well enough, you should do it better. Like for fucking sure. That's really, really valid. And you want to assess the thought that is lying behind the driver and make sure that thought, exactly. And make sure that thought isn't necessarily about, oh, I'm not good enough, I better do it better. And that thought is more about, okay, I am actually really, really capable here. I just didn't understand the parameters, right? And that's that parameters thing that you were talking about, Tess, right? Now I've got the framework for it. Not knowing the framework doesn't mean I'm stupid or less than. Not knowing the framework was just a lack of information. Right. And that's very different to, oh, I got it wrong because I fucked it up because I'm useless.
Very different.
Now I'm going to make everyone feel like I'm better because I can do it properly. They're really, really different things. So I think the reframing process is really, really important. Firstly, because it makes you look at the thought, and then you go through a process of understanding where the thought comes from and how it's affecting you in your life and how it shows up in all the different areas of your life, because how you do one thing is how you do all things, right? And if you've got a thought driving behavior over here, it's definitely driving behavior in a bunch of other places in your life, right? So then we reframe that thought and we turn it into something that's empowering rather than disempowering, because that's what imposter syndrome is. It's really disempowering.
Yeah. On that note, I kind of have my tip is kind of like adjacent to reframing. So the specific reframing that I tell myself is I remind myself of the definition of bravery. And this works really, really well, especially when you are doing something like we talked about, having that imposter syndrome when you're new at something or it's something you haven't tried before. And so the definition of bravery is not being unafraid. The definition of bravery is you're being afraid and you're going to do the thing anyway. That's what bravery is. And so that's like my little way of reframing certain things to give me the courage to do them and to tell the imposter syndrome, not necessarily to just like go away, but like, it doesn't matter if you're here, we're going to do it anyway. You know, which I guess in turn makes the imposter syndrome probably, go away a little bit. But I'm going to do it anyway. And we're going to get through it. Even if it goes good, great. Even if it goes bad, we're still going to do it no matter what. So that's my little bit of reframing that I like to tell myself.
I love that so much. And I just think being courageous is just such a lovely, lovely, lovely platform to operate from. Right? Because it takes away the requirement that I have to be good or that I have to be perfect or that I have to like have all my ducks in a fucking row, right? Because the very definition of being courageous is taking action when you're scared.
Yes. Yeah. Being scared and doing it anyway, because you're going to be scared. Like you're going to feel those feelings, but I'm not going to let them hold me back, So, and I feel like that probably has been very helpful in me being tenacious and me doing things that are outside of my comfort zone, because I know there's nothing good. I mean, there are good things inside my comfort zone, but I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to experience new things. I'm not going to get the greatness out of life if I just stay in the place where I always feel comfortable. Because comfort is like, to me, it's like if I'm not doing something uncomfortable, it's like I'm stagnant. And stagnant is almost like death. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just add one more thing? Like listening to you talk about that reminded me of a thing that is a really big part of the reframing process, and that is acknowledgement. Like I talked about the fact that you have to look at the thought that's there and that, you know, the thought that's behind the imposter syndrome. And there's another step to acknowledgement that I have found incredibly valuable, and that's thanking the imposter syndrome.
Oh.
Right? Because it's doing a job. It's protecting you.
Ashton's face right now is like, what the fuck?
I hate my imposter syndrome. Like, I can't.
I know.
Like, I can't even. Like, I'm not giving you a thank you. Like, get the F out of here. I hate you.
Well,
no.
consider this.
I'm in that phase at the moment too,
Consider this.
Ashton. It sucks.
Consider this.
Okay.
That imposter syndrome is a part of you. It's part of your brain. It's part of your
Ashton,
thinking.
your poor little brain.
It's part of who you are, right? That imposter syndrome, it's there for a reason. It's there to protect you. It's actually like loving the shit out of you. It's trying to keep you safe, right?
Yeah.
And when we can relate to that part of us as something that has value and is doing a thing for us out of like not malicious intent, right? But out of supportive intent, then we stop resisting it. And the trouble with resisting is the things that we resist, they get louder.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when we resist the idea of imposter syndrome and hate on it and tell it to fuck off and go away and leave me alone, you're actually telling a part of yourself to fuck off and go away and leave you alone.
No.
Okay.
Right?
I won't do it anymore.
And we don't talk to our, like, actually, that's what I was going to say, we don't talk to our parents that way, but we kind of do sometimes, right? Like, fuck off, leave me alone, right? But it's a teenager vibe, right? Like, as an adult, if your parents come to you and go, hey, look, I'm really concerned about this particular behavior model for you. I'm worried that it's going to cause problems for you in your life. We go, oh, that's really lovely. I'm really glad that you care about me enough to come and see me. Or if our friends come and see us and say, hey, this thing, what's going on there? Are you okay? And you know, you'd say to your friends, yeah, I'm good. I know it looks a bit scary, but I'm okay, right? We can say that to the part of us that is making us feel diminished or less than, right? It's just trying to protect us from being hurt. And when we can look at that part of us and go, oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to protect me. And I totally get it, right? Because there's some evidence that shows that what we're doing here is pretty risky. But guess what? I've got us. It's okay. I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to give you some love because that's what you need. You need to feel safe. Little bit of me that's scared, right? Give myself a hug. Come on, let's go. We can do this together.
Okay, I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
It's really powerful. It's made an extraordinary difference to me to stop looking at parts of my psyche as if they are malicious and trying to do the wrong thing by me.
That was really powerful, Deanna. You can send me a bill for this therapy session.
I was going to say
I will
the
pay it
exact
promptly.
same thing. I was like, thank you, therapy, Deanna.
And on that note, let's have a little fun at the end of this therapy session. We're supposed to be talking voiceover, but we get into deeper stuff too. We like all the things. We're gonna do our beloved segment, and I'm actually really excited about this one today. We're gonna do dun, 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 sounds I can't make.
Yes! I love this segment.
Me freaking too.
So good.
Okay, I'm
And it
pulling up.
really fires up my imposter syndrome, by the way, because I'm shit at a lot of these things.
Right?
It gets mine as well. It's stressful.
All right, here we go.
I made this. This is my fault.
And it's hilarious, right? Because you're actually really good at this, Tess, right?
Are.
So it's very interesting that you feel imposter syndrome in this space as well, because this is your thing.
Yeah.
You're
and
really good at this, right?
Thank you. That's made my imposter syndrome feel a bit better. I think it manifests because I am good at this. I want to continue I don't want to fail at it. I don't want anybody to see that happen.
Well, this is what happens, right? When we are good at something, the imposter syndrome still shows up. It just shows up as like, oh, now you can't fail. Everyone will think you're a dick if you fail now.
Right? They will think that, Deanna. They will.
Yes, they won't.
Right. Well, then let's do it, shall we? Jordan, what have
Okay.
we got?
Yeah, here we go. So if you're not watching on the video, the context is HBO shares studio footage of the actors voicing clickers in The Last of Us, the series. So if you're listening, you're going to hear it. If you're watching, you've already known that because you're looking at it. I'm going to play it twice. You guys get 2 opportunities to try it, and then we're done. Okay? Short, snappy, boom, boom, boom.
Yes,
Here we
sir.
go.
Producer Jordan.
Okay, that was one. Do you want me to turn it up? Was it loud enough?
Yeah, it was loud enough.
I thought we'd already done this one, or have we just had a conversation about this?
We've had a conversation about this.
We never attempted it.
We've never done this.
One more time. I'm going to turn it up a bit.
All right.
Cool. I love ingressive sounds.
Are they ingressive?
Yeah, are they?
Think?
I think. Pretty sure they're ingressive. Does everyone know what ingressive means?
I don't.
I mean, I do, but-
only learnt about that recently, but I don't reckon they are.
You don't think they're ingressive?
On the breath in, right? Is it
yeah,
the
on
breathing
an in-breath.
Yeah, I reckon
Yeah.
it's breathing out.
I've just gone to do it for myself, and I actually think Deanna's correct.
Of course I'm wrong. You guys should definitely be right.
Yeah, it is. You can't make that sound on an out-breath. It sounds
Yeah, I
very
guess you're probably
squeezed
right.
and
See,
pushed.
because I was thinking out breath, I was like, how the fuck are they not squeezing the shit out of their vocal folds? It's because they're not. It's because they're doing it
Because
on
they're
the
not.
in-breath.
It's ingressive.
That's interesting. Did that also burn anybody else's ear holes? That little high pitch just there?
That was
Deanna-
all on an in-breath, though.
That was great.
It was
I
perfect.
really enjoyed that.
I want to try. This is
All
fun.
right.
Like
Off
I
you go, Ashton.
I freaking love this stuff. Like this is okay.
That's you did something I was going to instruct you on, and you absolutely fucking nailed it. Oh, that was so exciting. Because as you were the first time you were doing it, your face was really soft, and I was going to go to get that tension of sound or that tension of emotion. I was going to ask you the next time you do it, can you put some more tension into your face? And you did it. And you nailed it. You didn't
That's what I was thinking too as I was going through it. I was like,
Yes.
okay, remember because if you watch the video, if you're watching this on YouTube, which I mean, go watch us there too.
Or TikTok full episodes there too.
Yeah, for sure. But you can see the actual actors like moving their bodies very
Yes.
rigidly and moving their heads in very like zombie-esque ways and scrunching up your face. And so as I started doing it, I'm like, okay, I can make the sound. Now let's make it better.
Yes.
Let's make it mean something.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And from a mechanical perspective, yes, it's ingressive, but also it's about resonating cavity, right? So you change the shape of the oral cavity to change the resonating quality of the sound,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting because there's what I'm fighting against in my brain, just from a rational perspective, right, is how am I, when I'm sucking air in, how is the sound bouncing around my oral cavity? But that's not how sound waves work, right? The sound waves don't move in the direction of the air. The sound waves move out from the vibrating vocal folds and into whatever resonating cavity is being used to like capture and then shape the sound. Does that make
Precisely.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And you can demonstrate, like, I can even feel that in my mouth when it was open as opposed to when I
Yes.
started to close it and, like, change the physical shape of the way I'm using my mouth.
Yeah.
And it actually made it much more aggressive sounding and almost more desperate sounding,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you watch her face in the first one, she really elongates the front of her nose. So it's like,
Yeah.
so the little muscles that live down here, the labia, I just said labia on the podcast.
Probably won't be the last time.
It's like labio something because it's like
Yeah.
lip to nose, but she was really doing that, and that to me was creating those the formants of your nasal registers and making
Yeah.
them narrow and really
Yes.
bouncy, because
Yes.
that's what I was watching her do. So she was getting really I think this is your fourth formant or your fourth harmonic is up through your nose, and that's how she was manipulating that, I think. That's what
And
it
the
looked like to
guy,
me
when you
anyway.
watch him, he lifts his chin up really high
Yes.
as well. So
Yeah.
there's lots of shaping
Yeah.
of the resonating
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah, and the sound of his was quite deeper and heavier because he
Yeah.
was placing in the jaw and in the throat, whereas with her, she was tensing through the front of the face, which would have made hers high. That's what it looked like to me anyway.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
makes
that's
total
what I
and
would have
it'll be
guessed.
partly about like your vocal quality naturally anyway. Like where does your
Yes,
larynx
100%.
natively sit in
Yeah.
your throat and that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And if we're ingressive, you'll get. I don't know how you change pitch on. And I'm sure. You must be able
It's
to
the same.
because they're doing it. So your natural vocal fold thickness and shape will provide.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
So why don't you have a go, Tess?
Oh
Go.
fuck! Right, okay.
But now you'll work out how to change the pitch.
I actually feel like I need to get on my knees for this. I
Oh.
can't because I can't get like I can't. My back's a bit sore, so like I can't get any
Okay.
tension in my when I'm sitting down.
Torso.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh fuck! I can't even
Just
think
start
about it
breathing
now.
in. Just start making the noise.
That was terrifying.
It was fucking fun, man.
It's good,
was
isn't it?
So cool. I got real lost in there for a moment. I was like,
Yeah.
use my arms.
Yeah. Your
But,
face
like-
stayed very similar though.
Did it?
Stayed in this space.
Yeah, that's because
right?
I wanted to
So
try it. I'll try something
try-
different,
yeah,
shall I?
Do something different.
I'm gonna put my arms up.
Okay.
This feels sensible for me.
Can I suggest something?
Yes.
Less. Oh.
That's more
So
regular
movement.
zombie.
Less up and
Remember
downy.
They're
Yes, because
clickers.
at the moment you're going.
Oh, okay. My eyes were
Like
closed, so I
you're,
have no idea
you're
what's going
still
on.
kind of shaping words.
Oh.
I reckon. What's going on there is a bit of like, let's turn this sound into word, right?
Yeah.
But we don't want word movements.
Yeah.
Long, like.
Cool. So do a bit more stretching.
But it's actually not long. It's actually staccato because they're clickers.
Some of them are.
Yeah. They're click. They're clickers.
Some of them are, right? But like some of those sounds were longer. So you do get that.
Do you know what I think would help? Actors' intention. So what is this? What is this thing
Yes.
doing?
Yeah, what are they saying?
What are they saying?
Yeah.
So I reckon if it's like to get that kind of sound, if we do something that's a little bit softer, that's like just looking around. That's a really soft actor's intention. But do you know what I mean? So like, someone help me.
Or figuring
Well,
out
in the video,
figuring out where you are as a zombie. Like you just woke up
Yeah.
as a zombie. You have no idea what's going on,
Yeah.
and you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's your intention.
I don't know why putting my arms up feels good, but it feels
Whatever.
good. Whatever, just do it.
yeah.
Oh, I've got the giggles.
Okay, good.
They got me.
Good. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
Right?
that was cool.
fun.
Right?
That was cool.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Seriously, the arms up and like hanging and dropping my neck into my shoulders, even though that's not a
Worked
good
for
vocal
you?
posture, it was really nice to and then once I got there, I found my vocal space. I have to get off my knees now. Oh my god, my back's gonna.
I
Jordan.
think that we can safely say like this is a sound we can make.
You guys
Yes.
can make it for
Jordan.
sure.
Yeah.
Jordan,
I
don't
have to
ruin
do
this
the
for
big
us.
wide, I have to do the big wide guy version of it, that real
Yes.
deep. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, wow, this is harder than I thought. I
If
went
you
to do
breathe
it,
out,
nothing happened.
if you breathe out first, it's heaps easier because then you take air in.
Wow, it makes me want to cough. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah, see if you can
makes
smooth
me
it out a
wanna,
bit.
Like,
Yeah.
I think
it's like
what's
all vocal fold. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can
Yeah.
I help for half a sec? I reckon if you
Mm.
do this first, Jordan. You do some glottal fry first. So you're gonna go. So breathe in and breathe out on your glottal fry.
Nice.
doesn't want to do it.
Doesn't want to do it.
No, it's doing it. It's just
It's
different
interesting.
muscular activation. That's
Yeah.
all.
Not used to doing it, I guess.
You do have to pull a lot more with these
Yeah.
muscles down here. If you put your fingers on your collarbone, right, and you do glottal fry on the way out and then glottal fry on the way in, feel how much more the muscles here have to activate. You got to suck.
Yeah, Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Makes someone cough.
It's
Interesting.
quite a challenge.
Yeah.
I think maybe we've just probably practiced that before.
Yeah,
But if you can do it, Jordan, like if you practiced it, you could definitely do it.
I can't do it for any longer than that. It really makes me want to. It feels very uncomfortable.
Also, my question for you, Jordan, do you have a little bit of a cold at the moment? Or
are
you a little
for
bit like
I don't know, 3 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that'll be the other
go
reason.
Away, really.
Yeah, because if you had something and your vocal folds are already a little bit irritated, an ingressive sound is going to make you want to fuck no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
That'll be why it's not working out for you, because you'll go to do it and your vocal folds are like, stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
What is this? Yeah. It feels like they need to be trained. Like that was when I tried to do it just then, that's what it felt like. You really do need to practice. Some of the other ones I'm like, I don't know, I guess I can make that sound, and then something similar comes out. That time I was like, whoa, this is a real physical. Like it felt really physical for me, having never done anything like that. I do it out all the time. I make those noises on the out breath all the time, but
really?
never on the in breath. Yeah, just like mucking around.
Like,
like a groan or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Non-verbal sound. Non-verbal,
When I'm sleeping, in my
I'm at the
dream,
bank.
I'd say that. Yeah. Post office. Yeah.
When I'm at the bank.
So I think it's pretty safe to say that we are fairly good at that sound. It is a sound we can indeed make. So hey, Naughty Dog, if you want to call us, if you're looking for clickers, you know who to call.
Where your peeps? You want an Aussie clicker?
Don't call me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is the I'm gonna
Yeah.
Sorry, I just read Tessa's message and my
so
brain
sorry,
just
it
did that
distracted
thing
me so
that I was
badly.
just like,
I enjoyed
You know what? It's so funny.
dysfunction,
I am teaching, this is what I'm teaching my WAPA students, because I teach presenting to camera, right? And we are doing interviews as one of their assessments. And part of the interview process is we're doing them on Zoom. I'm going to be at home. They're going to be in computer labs interviewing each other. And I'm their producer. So I'm going to be sending them shit in chat that they have to pay attention to while they're conducting the interview.
I love that.
And what just happened to you then, is exactly what I'm teaching them how to manage their way through. That whole what?
Yeah.
Normally I'm okay at that. Like I am not horribly bad at that, but I don't know, for whatever reason that message just like caught me off guard because I was already like halfway developing like the thought of like we're closing right now. And then Tessa's like okay, well, here's the thing. This is our final episode of season 3 of
What
this
the hell?
podcast.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. We've had so much fun doing this podcast. It is like one of the highlights of like when we get together. Oh my gosh, like it just makes all of our days better. We love doing this podcast. We are so thankful for all of the listeners out there. And it's so exciting to us to do episodes like this where we get sent in things by you, listener, to talk about. It's so exciting. Thank you, Brandon.
Shout out, Brandon.
Woohoo! Go, Brandon. We appreciate you, Brandon, and we appreciate all our listeners. Please send us in more ideas. Send us sounds that you want us to make. Send us your stories from the booth, questions you might have about voiceover or any voiceover adjacent things that we talk about.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot.
We are so happy to be voiceover adjacent. You know?
we are getting to the voiceover adjacent space. But, it's all good. It's all good. We love you guys very much. And we are very thankful that you've continued to listen to us. And hopefully you will continue to listen to us even into season 4. So we look forward to that. We love you guys.
Actually, you don't have to do anything different anyway, because we're just going to record another episode and release it, and you just keep listening. So.
About how it goes.
I was trying to make it a big
No,
deal,
that's
but
not true.
it's really not.
That's not true. We're going to bring in tongue twisters. That's what we're going to do in season 4. So stay tuned for those. That's why you should come back.
Yeah.
Get to listen to us mess up words that are not easy to put in a row.
Love it. Love it.
Bringing in tongue twisters, season 4, changing it up a little bit. But if you have stories or tongue twisters or any sounds you want us to make, please send them to us. You can contact us through any of our socials. We're on Instagram, we on TikTok, we on Facebook. We're a lot of places. You can also email us at thegoodtalkerspodcast@gmail.com. Go
you're back. You froze for a sec. Is she still frozen?
I did?
Oh, there you go. You're
She's
back.
back.
There you go.
Oh.
Hello.
I literally just got a pop-up that says, your internet is unstable. Yeah, no
Yeah.
shit.
Thanks, Zoom.
I guess that's us being told to fuck off for this episode.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that?
yeah. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
We love you guys. We'll see you in season 4. Have a good one. Peace out.
Bye, guys.